Hi guys, welcome back to Books and Tarot Witch channel. I'm here to do the authortube tag. I didn't know how to get started doing things except for giving updates on my works and projects, so I'm here doing this instead of introducing all my projects right now. So the first question is, how did you find out about authortube? I found out about authortube I think by just looking up videos about writing. Or maybe an old friend who I don't talk to anymore suggested to me Alexa Dunn, I think it was. And I checked her out, or if that's not the case, it might have been Kate Kavanaugh, because I believe they're the two that I've been watching the longest. And I just continue watching it for years, off and on, because being an author was something that I always really wanted. And when I gave up, I stopped watching them, and I binge watched them again when I got back into it. What genres do you write in? I write primarily in fantasy and romance, sometimes together, not always, but I've never written a fantasy that didn't have any romance in it. I have written romance without fantasy, though. I'm working on one right now. What is your favorite writing tense, point of view, and category of story? My favorite writing tense is past. My favorite point of view is third limited, and my favorite category is usually adult. New adult is also nice when I find that type of thing, but that's less common. Are you a plotter, pantser, or planter? I would say I'm a planter because what I generally do is I'll start a new document or I'll open a new page and write down everything that I know I want things to be. Like today, I wrote down I want it to be a romance. I wrote down about how much words I want it to be. I wrote about the main character, how I wanted her to be. I decide what gender I want them to be because a lot of my stories are very trans friendly. Usually the main character is non-binary, or the love interest is non-binary, or another supporting character is non-binary, and it's also very queer, stuff like that. So I figure out all that type of stuff. I figure out where I want it to be, when I want it to be, and then as I write all that down, I start getting ideas. I split it up into okay, so this is the list of what I need to know about Cameron. This is the list of what I need to know about Alex, stuff like that. Then I'll make it about the setting. Like today, after I started a new one that's based in Austin, Texas, so I started writing down things I need to know about that. Either that I already know or that I need to look into and do my research on. And then after I get to that point, I will start writing like a rough draft of it, like more of a zero draft where I get the big things out. And then after I do that, I perfect the big scenes and I start working on the little scenes. I start working on perfecting them and making sure that it all flows together, adds up into one cohesive work until I feel that this is the best that I can have it be. Are you self-published, traditionally published, or yet to be published? I am not yet published. I will be writing one book that is self-published, but for the most part, I want to do traditional publishing because I don't imagine I'll ever have the money to be able to do self-publishing. I also feel like the stress in self-publishing is a little bit too much for me. I would much rather be someone who can just write and edit my books and be paid for that and let other people do the other things for me, and I don't feel capable of doing those other things. Dream publishing house and agent. I don't have one as of yet because for me, my thought process is all of the books that I'm currently working on are generally in the first draft. Stormy Nights is an exception, but that had to be self-published, so I don't count that for that. So it's like I want to get to a point where I'm almost ready to send out and go on query before I start looking for an agent and a publishing house. What authortube related videos will we find on your channel? I'm obviously going to be posting writing updates about my stories and whenever I have a new one after I introduce the ones I'm working on now. I will be talking about, okay, so hi guys, I started this new story. This is what you can expect from it. This is how you can imagine it. Stuff like that. I will probably also give like tips that have helped me, because like my brain is not a neurotypical brain. I think very different from how the average person thinks. Like there's so many things in writing that I tried doing that ended up doing more harm than good for me. So I'll more than likely talk about that, and also like probably like queer issues within writing, more about in characters than like in publishing itself, because I don't have the experience in publishing yet, at least. And that's something that I think is very important. I've struggled my entire life with queer issues, either because people thought I was, or I was, and people hated me for it, or because of learning to deal with dysphoria and accepting myself as who I am. And I think that having more stories with queer people in them is incredibly important. Hold on. When did you start writing? I don't remember the age I was, but I was in 6th grade and it was October. Or it might have been September going into October. It was the first writing assignment that we had for the year in 6th grade. And this was the first time that you ever did fictional writing in my classes too. And it was supposed to be a Halloween story. I forget what the prompt was, but they gave you like a prompt. And my story reminds me so much of like The Wizard of Oz, which is hilarious because as a kid I thought that was the most horrifying movie in the world. There was a witch, a scarecrow, a vampire, and something else, but I don't remember what it was. And I don't remember how it ended, but I do remember that the witch was evil and the vampire somehow defeated the witch. And ever since then, my life has been vampires. Well, it's always been vampires, but it started becoming me making vampires instead of me consuming them. And now I do both. What authors inspire your writing the most? Unfortunately, the first author that ever did was J.K. Rowling, but we all know what she's like now. These days, I would definitely say Joy DeMora, who wrote Hunger Pains, True Love Bites, is one of the big authors who have inspired me and made me feel more comfortable in writing the things that I want to write. Also, Neil Gaiman. I want to read more of his books. I've only read Good Omens so far, but I very badly want to read more of him and Terry Pratchett, so that's going to be on the agenda in the future. Unfortunately, a lot of the books that I've read lately, I didn't actually like, so I'm low on other authors that inspire me, but I'm more than excited to find more that I love the writing of. Do you schedule your writing sessions? Yes and no. Yes, in that I will try to write every day, at least Monday through Friday, for a few hours a day. And if I have more to write, like on the weekends or outside of those hours, I'll let myself write then too. No, in that I do take a lot of time off. I'll take like weeks or months at a time off from writing and just give myself those breaks. So it's very loose. It's more of an idea, less of a strict thing set in place. Do you write on a computer, typewriter, by hand, or emits? And where do you write? I primarily write on a computer. I do write some things in my notebook. I wrote a few things lately for the book that I'm writing, which is set in North Carolina. Like, hold on, I want to find something so I can give an example. Oh yeah, maybe werewolf main character moves to Appalachia for work, Appalachia rather, for work or school. And then the werewolf main character is looking down on Southerners, and it's going to be a big old social commentary about how, yeah, there's a lot of problems in the Appalachian region, but also that's no excuse for Northerners to be sticking their noses up at the South and just like generally talking about things that are very important to that region, and just being more supportive towards people who are uh, the most vulnerable there. I really want to talk about that in my platform, and I really want to encourage for there to be better things, partly because my great grandma's from there, and also partly because they're just humans and they deserve good. It's like you would not want to be saying, as a northerner who, as a teenager, I used to look so down on southerners. I would not want to be looked down on the way that I looked down on them when I was younger. And also, like, I grew up in the north. I grew up in New Jersey, which everyone touts as so liberal. I still experience so much homophobia. I've experienced transphobia. I've experienced it all, and nobody deserves that. And like, I'm talking as like a white queer person whose family is from the United States. It's very different for someone who not only is not white, but also for someone who lives somewhere where there's such little resources for people who are experiencing it. And that's so important. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent. But yeah, I primarily write on computer. I sometimes write in a notebook. And for the most part, I write on the couch that I have in the living room, but sometimes I'll write here in the kitchen at the table. Just for more comfort if I'm writing in a notebook or if I'm using a USB keyboard to have a break from my laptop. And the last question is, what are you most looking forward to as a part of authortube? Community. I really want community, and I want to be able to support others. I want freedom and stability, and I just really want to get to know other authors and other people who are experiencing the same things that I'm experiencing, and hoping that means that there will be a lot less stress in my life. Alright guys, that's all for this tag. Thank you so much for watching this, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe if that's what you feel like doing, and if you don't, then that's fine too. Not everything is for everyone. Bye.